What's going on, nation? This is the Concert Cruiser, and today for On the Rise, we're going to be talking to a young transplant who moved from America to Japan to start Rhone Valley Rogues. So, with that out of the way, let's get started. Robert, haven't seen you in some time. How are things going over there in the Far East?
Pretty good. I'm still working toward my Koto degree and playing music.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Rhone Valley Rogues, what exactly does that mean?
Well, the Rhone Valley is a region in France that makes some of my favorite wine in the world.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, all the way from incredibly expensive wine, Côte Rôtie or Chateauneuf de Pape, to under $20 wine, basic Côte de Rhone, which is Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre, and is incredibly delicious.
Yeah, you are a bit of a wine connoisseur. How exactly does that play a role in your music?
Well, I'm not very creative when I'm drinking, actually. So,
really?
Yeah, I know, it doesn't work for me. As soon as I have my first sip of wine, my productivity and my chances of getting anything done for the rest of the day plummet dramatically.
Yeah, there are some people who like to believe that writing under the influence leads to more creativity, but I don't know exactly how that works. But I do know that for some people, it does not work.
Yeah, I think I've written exactly one part of any band I've been in my life. I think there's been one part of a song that was written under the influence of alcohol.
So if Rhone Valley has something to do with wine, then where did the rogue come from?
It kind of fits in. First, it sounded good, but it fits in with the mood, the outlook, the general feel of this project is a little more maybe confrontational and provocative than stuff I've done in the past, at least with songs like I Bet You Think This Song Isn't About You,
which we'll talk about later, folks.
Yes, it worked, it clicked, it just fit the mood of the band.
Okay, now how does living in Japan affect your writing and your creativity? Because this is a whole new culture and even a whole new way of life for some.
Yeah, well, I think like every, even the slightest environmental change can color a musician's creative output. You see like record producers paying exorbitant amounts of money to have a band stay in some chateau or castle to write for a couple of months because they believe that that'll somehow impact the creativity.
I've seen it happen.
I love Japan. I live in Yokohama, which is a very big city, so I'm coming from kind of the city in Japan, not so much the countryside. So if it is reflected in the music, it's more of a city vibe. But I love the winding back streets. Those are some of my favorite places in Japan. Those, crooked alleys, just going up into the hills here in the West Ward of Yokohama.
How is a city in Japan different from a city in America?
Well, see, in America, I live in Melbourne, Florida, which wasn't a very big city. So not only was I experiencing the move from the US to Japan, but I was also experiencing the move from a smaller city to a big city.
But I'm assuming though you've been to like maybe some of the bigger known cities in this country, like maybe New York City or Orlando.
Yeah, but just to play shows or for short vacations. But living somewhere, you really dial into a place once you spend enough time there, really living there. And I couldn't tell you what it's like to live in a big city. I guess I did live in West Palm Beach for a while, and I did live in Gainesville for a while. But those have completely different vibes from compared to Yokohama.
Living in Japan for X amount of years, what would you say is perhaps the biggest misconception people have about that country, at least people here in America?
That's a good question. I'd say my friends who visit, probably the biggest thing I try to explain to them is the difference between visiting a place and living there. And that's not unique to Japan, but as far as like cultural misconceptions, I don't know about that.
Well, I do know that the people of Japan tend to be a rather conservative people. Because I think a lot of people here in America, especially when you go to anime cons, I think people get this idea that perhaps maybe it's a quirky way of living, or maybe they think because their pop culture's quirky, maybe they are. But to my understanding, that's really not the case. Is there some truth to that?
Well, I'd say everything has its proper place. To kind of go back to the lyrics for I Bet You Think This Song Isn't About You. This room is for my family. This room is for my job. This room is for my hobbies. This room is for God. Of course, you can go to Harajuku and you see the people with, the costumes and the hair and stuff like that. I'm not sure what people do with colored hair in school, because I see people who seem to be like school age and have colored hair, and I don't think that's allowed in Japanese schools. So that is still a mystery to me. I'm not sure about that.
Now, getting back to your music and your art, I have seen your website here, and there seems to be this motif of people standing in front of doors here. What are you trying to convey with this artwork?
I don't want to give too much away. I mean, the cellar door is a motif in the artwork and in the lyrics. So I don't want to say too much. The artwork done by an artist named Septimius Ferdian. So you should check out their art station and their other linked websites.
We'll put a link in the description, people.
Yeah, but yeah, that is a definite motif in the lyrics and the artwork.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is it with the cellar door? Because you actually did mention it in one of your songs.
Yeah.
And I guess that's just part of the mystery.
Yeah.
Now, I have seen you perform many times when you were still here in the States, and you always seem to have these outlandish costumes here. I remember you saying it was something called Visual K. What can you tell me about your costumes? And if you plan on taking this music live, do you plan on doing so many costume changes?
Definitely plan on taking the music live. I mean, that's what I love about music, is the live shows. Costume changes are difficult to pull off during a shorter set. It's more likely that I will wear something with layers, and maybe some layers will come off at some point during the set. Yeah, it's difficult to pull off a costume change during like maybe a 5-song set. I don't know. I'm not saying no, but I do have the stage costume. I just made a trip to Tokyo to pick up the rest of that last week. So the first stage costume is complete.
It can be done. So I've put some photos of some of your costumes up here on screen for people to see.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. So, but what can you tell me about Visual K?
Visual K, like visual style, it's a subgenre of music in Japan. I believe the term was coined in connection to Japan. Visual K is basically more than a style of music. It's more the idea that the costumes are an integral part of the band's expression, just like the music.
Okay, so in a way, it's kind of like, for lack of a better term here, Japanese shock rock, where you're kind of like with Alice Cooper, how do you wear costumes that went with the music?
Yeah, and that's one of those things. There are, of course, bands all over the world who wear costumes that wouldn't consider themselves and wouldn't be considered Visual K.
Yeah, because I remember when you were with SS Hanami, you actually one gray costume that actually looked like it had vines wrapped around it.
Yeah.
I remember that, and to be fair, I don't think I've ever seen a Western band do that. So I do think there is something different about it, comparing, again, like Visual K and someone like Marilyn Manson or Alice Cooper or any of these other shock rock giants. But there is something about it that did speak to you.
Yeah, well, what I liked initially, my first Visual K band I heard was Malice Miser. Or Malice Miser, however you pronounce them. And what I loved about them was how it was like, they had the music, of course, which was very unique and fantastical. I first heard their Merveille album, which I still think is their best album. But there was the music, and there was, the short film they did, and their costumes, and it was like all of these different aspects of the band were puzzle pieces, like pieces of a key that led into something deeper. It's like it was more than a band. It was another world that they created, and they were inviting you to step into their world. And that's what I tried to do with SS Hanami. That's what I am trying to do with Rhone Valley Rogues as well.
That actually is an interesting way of looking at it. Now, I've listened to the 3 songs that you have on your site so far, and The Thrill of Descent is a total 180 from A Conversation with Your Former Self. What direction are you going with your music?
So funny you ask that. We're actually recording the next song, the song that'll be released after this EP. That's almost completely recorded. And out of the 3 songs, I would say it sounds like none of them. So
Really?
I really don't know. It's upbeat, guitar, drums, bass, some strings and keyboard in there. Yeah, I don't know which of the current 3 songs it sounds the most like.
Yeah, because going back to Thrill Descent here, it actually sounds like an intro to an anime. Was anime an influence for you?
Yes, with that song specifically was a definite influence. When I was working on the song with my friend David, I sent him like the partially completed song, and he was gonna track some guitar for it. As a reference track, I think I sent him an anime opening or a closing song. It may have been from Bungo Stray Dogs. I think it was from Bungo Stray Dogs. But I sent him an anime opening just to be like, this is the vibe. Just, kind of help him understand the vibe that I had in mind when I was writing the song. So yes, and that's also one reason why it's first on the EP, because it is kind of the opening, the entry point into this world. Yeah.
Oh wow, I've actually never thought of that. Now the 3rd song on there is called I Bet You Think This Song Isn't About You. This is not a cover. It has nothing to do with the original. So what exactly is this song?
Well, the title refers back to the lyrics. So if you listen to and read the lyrics, the title kind of follows right behind that. Gentle jab at the listener, I would say.
Really? A gentle jab?
A little, yeah.
How's it a jab at the listener?
I bet you think this song isn't about you.
Interesting. This is actually a different form of lyrical writing that I never really considered. Now, earlier about the song, you actually talked about how there's all these different rooms. What role does this play in the song?
About how people compartmentalize life. The lyrics to that song: we are raised on tales of resistance, anthems that glorify dissent, but God forbid that you live them, you're out of line. So many heroes to cheer for, sad endings you can shed tears for, so you remain a spectator on the sidelines. What we call counterculture is all part of the plan. The masses need an outlet to stick it to the man, to keep us satisfied with our ordinary lives. You'll just blow off some steam, then resume your 9 to 5. About how we can compartmentalize our lives.
Okay, now going back here to the Thrill Descent, because I remember you actually released a Koto album that was completely instrumental, but however, you had lyrics for this song here. How exactly did this song come about, and what exactly does it mean? Because for me, it sounds like being excited about failure, at least going off the title.
Thrill of Descent. Well, you assume descent is a bad thing. It could also be, I can't say it better than I said in the lyric, falling never felt so fun till the night you gave me that gentle push, is the chorus line. So heights and blood both make me feel faint. Why then still can't I look away? So being afraid of heights, but the thrill of falling and having someone give you just that little push off the edge.
Oh wow, interesting. Hey, you gave these lyrics some thought. I'm impressed. Okay, now to wrap things up here, what can people expect from Rhone Valley Rogues? Because it's not like this music is for just the people of Japan. Anybody can pick up this music and enjoy it.
Here's my answer. They can expect authenticity. In winemaking, there is a concept called terroir, a French word that I just mispronounced, and it refers to all of the minute environmental conditions that go into a particular plot of land and affect the grapes that are grown on that land. So everything from soil composition to elevation to the slope of the hill and how much sunlight that vineyard may get during a particular time of year. And the idea of terroir is they're not the grapes. The grapes are a vehicle, an expression of all of those environmental conditions. The grapes are letting the soil speak. Likewise, when I write music, I'm looking at a song. A song is a vehicle to express all of the minute conditions that are going on with the musician. So their emotional state, where they're living, like you asked me earlier, what they're listening to at the moment. So if a song was released or written 6 months earlier or 6 months later, or if the same song were written by a different person, it would be a different song. Mm-hmm. And so if songwriters are doing that, and a song is an expression of a particular time and place, like a crystallization of that, then you don't have to worry about music becoming homogenous or boring, because the music is an authentic expression. And so what I promise to deliver to listeners of Rhone Valley Rogues is authenticity, the same kind of authenticity that I look for in a good bottle of wine.
All right, Robert, thank you so much for this time.
Thank you so much.
All right, it's great seeing you again, Rob. Take care, everyone.
Take care. No, thank you so much. Great talking to you.